Hi, it's Kirby Summers, and I want to welcome you to my true crime podcast. Today is Friday, December 28th, 2024. We're only a few days away from the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. A new year with new promise, a lot of happiness, I hope, for everyone listening, and perhaps information that some people have been hoping to find, discover, bump into. So here's what I would like to discuss today. And before I get started, many thanks to those of you who have provided a super thanks that I'm now capable of receiving, those of you who take the time to like and comment, and those of you who have participated in joining me on my Substack and or my Patreon, and to all of my new subscribers here on my channel. Thank you for subbing. It has helped with the algorithm. I think everyone knows I have been somewhat suppressed. However, hey, we can overcome anything, right? So while people have been discussing the unlikely possibility that Jay-Z will be pardoned by Donald Trump, with whom, by the way, he spent a lot of time. We have all seen the photographs. I, like others, do not believe this is going to happen. However, no one has really given any thought to the fact that it's very likely, in my opinion, I would say there's a better than 50-50 chance that Joe Biden may provide a preemptive pardon to Sean, Puffy, Diddy, Combs, Love, whatever he wants to call himself. And I will explain why, and I will explain how this can happen, and I will further remind you of things that perhaps you have forgotten. That said, I do have a lot of pages of notes here, so sometimes I may have to stop and take a look at my notes. What I want to start with is that Barack Obama has been mentioned many, many times in connection to Sean Combs. Combs did a lot of work in getting Barack Obama elected. He did this before he became the president of the United States. In fact, I uploaded a link to a short clip on my X account, I believe yesterday, showing him in the crowd with his friend Jay-Z and his, I don't know what to call her, his wife, I suppose, Beyonce, during the inaugural ceremony when Barack Obama was being sworn in to become the president, January of 2009, correct. And however, there was a previous one long before Barack Obama became the president, when he was still, the Congress level. So their friendship goes back. Additionally, and I'm going to have to like tiptoe through this, there have been allegations, and wherever these allegations show up, the information disappears. But there have been allegations regarding their friendship, and I think you can fill in the blank. Fill in the blank, people. It's not that difficult. So Barack Obama's vice president was Joe Biden. And I don't, and he's the president now, and we know that he has pardoned a lot of people. Now, a preemptive pardon is very possible. Under the U.S. Constitution, the president has broad power to pardon someone before they are indicted, convicted, or sentenced. for a federal offense against the United States. This means a person can be pardoned for crimes they have not actually been charged with. A pardon would not apply for future conduct, but can apply for past offenses. So that while Sean Combs is sitting in jail, before he is convicted or sentenced, because he hasn't been to trial yet, while he is sitting in jail, it is possible for Joe Biden, very close friend also, you don't see the pictures, but you don't get to hang around with Barack Obama and have Barack Obama, by the way, pardon some of Sean Combs' friends who were put in jail for the trafficking of the white substance, who received a pardon upon the request of Sean Combs, and then given a job. You guys, if you know the names, good. I'm not going to say them right now here. But all he had to do, meaning our friend Sean Combs, who's sitting in jail, apparently not liking it very much, is all he had to do was ask his good friend Barack Obama, hey, add these guys to your list. And he did. And then once the guy was out, in one specific case, he gave him a job, with his record company. Now, I want to say that and just give me a second, because I am going through my notes. So here's, I think the crux of it also lies in the fact that it has been long rumored that Combs has been an informant, not just for the FBI, but also for the three-letter agency that we have discussed as it pertained to the other person whose name begins with a J and who we refer to now as Jeff. And that, frankly, it's like similar to what his father was, so that he was never someone who rose up through the ranks as a poor guy from the ghetto, from the slums, single family, with a mother who, but his father, as you may know, was also an informant, right? So, and they believe that that is why he lost his life, because he was unalived when I think Combs was 3 years old. He was in that group of Black substance dealers, and it was discovered that he was not a man of honor because he was snitching, right? So it is believed that the reason that Diddy has gotten such a free ride, not just for the many decades that he was in the record industry, but that he has gotten a free ride because he was an informant. And of course, everything went south when he turned around and bit the hand that fed him, meaning the liquor company, right? And so once that happened, it was like, well, you can't do this to us. And then the way he did it was he played the race card and he sued them for being, for a racial situation that really was not there. And this is why he finds himself in the position that he is now. Now, we do notice that none of his very famous friends are coming to his aid or saying anything other than, I don't know him. Even his very good friend Jay-Z, he doesn't know him. Oh, his attorney, Jay-Z's attorney, came out and basically said this. They were just colleagues in a professional manner. No, they were not friends. But anyway, um, we've seen a lot of interesting pardons. Now, people have talked about the friendship between Donald Trump and Combs. However, Combs, when Biden was running for president, based on the fact that he was Obama's VP, and frankly, I just want to interject here and say that I am a former slave to the family that put Obama into the political sphere and who were his puppets connected to this group of very powerful people. So I know a lot of things that, let's say, Biden has done in his youth to get over. You know, Biden was not always old. He was young at one time. Yeah, he was young at one time. But Sean Combs went ahead and endorsed Biden against Trump, and he basically said a lot of nasty things about Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is like a child. Again, in my situation, the person who made me the SLAVE was also very close with Trump. So I know a lot of very personal things about Trump. I know a lot of very personal things about all of them, frankly, based on my own history. But Trump is very petty. So there is no way that Trump is going to pardon Sean Combs when he's in office. But there's a very big likelihood, in my opinion, that he will receive a pardon from Joe Biden. Now, I want people to remember that Malia Obama, with the permission of her parents, went to work for Harvey Weinstein in 2017. That's just at the same time, the same year that Harvey Weinstein was outed in the New Yorker magazine by Ronan Farrow. And by the way, I did a podcast on this channel on Ronan Farrow that I think you guys should listen to, because not everything is what it seems. But we have Barack Obama's eldest daughter, who interned on the HBO show Girls, ready to work with Harvey Weinstein, who was like, he's probably to date one of the grossest people that whose reign was effectively ended. Now, I don't know if you're on my Substack, but if you are, then you know that I'm working on a series on the Beatles. Yeah, because I'm discovering things about the Beatles that not a lot of people know. And the way I got into it was because I was doing some work on the people in the Wexy circle. And when Mike Jeffries was arrested for the similar type allegations, by the way, he was CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch. Well, that led me into this rabbit hole. And I believe I'm up to part 6 or part 7. And I found something that I will share with you here, and perhaps it'll entice you to come on over to my Substack, that Harvey Weinstein worked for the Beatles when he was very young. He began working for them when he was 16 years old. And what did that tell me? And you can't find this information. I have receipts on my last installment. When I came across that information, everything sort of clicked for me. And I had to step back. And I have been, uploading other really great articles, but I had to step back because I was like, unaware, like many of you are right now, that there was any link between Harvey Weinstein and the Beatles of the 1960s, right? The Beatles. the wholesome Beatles. And the image of this despicable Harvey Weinstein connected to this wholesome Fab Four at the age of 16. And then right after I'm just sharing a little excerpt of my newsletter on my series, which has gone really deep into the Beatles and their beginning and what's going on today and how it stretches into today. Because whenever I hear somebody talk about this subject, they take it back to maybe Michael Jackson. They don't take it back previous to that. I take it back previous. And I show with receipts how it's all connected. So that after Weinstein left his employment with the Beatles, that's when he began sort of like doing putting together shows very similar to the beginnings of Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, Love, whatever again, you know. And I really almost want to think that he has many personalities, you know, the way that we have seen, let's say, someone like Paul Benassi talk about his split personality. And for those of you who are on my Patreon, my most recent upload, by the way, talks about split personality in the Hollywood industry, in the music industry, and how it's done, and how it's still connected to the three-letter agency, and a program, by the way, that never finished. So to get back to Barack Obama and allowing his eldest daughter to go work for Harvey Weinstein, then we have to understand how prevalent this behavior and how deep rooted it is into our baseline political sphere, no matter what side you're on. That is why I, at a very young age, looked at the political landscape. I am neither a Democrat nor a Republican. I just don't want any part of it. I look at things objectively, I study them, I look for patterns. And I think that if he has a chance, based on the fact that he has been an informant, and also based on the fact that he is very close to the former president, meaning Obama. And that's not to say, you know, I don't want you to think that I am saying for a minute that Jay-Z is going to perhaps throw Obama under the bus in order to get favorable treatment. That, number one, would not work. You do not throw a former president under the bus, because sitting in the White House right now is the former president's VP at the time, with whom Puff Daddy was also friendly. So I'm not suggesting that for a second. And you know, as much as I believe all of us are aware that he was an informant, I think it is that kind of, he got a pass. I mean, he got a pass not just from Clive Davis when he first started to work with him collaboratively. Now, we know that there are deep rumors. I have another podcast on this channel where I talk about the Clive Davis relationship with a young Sean Combs. Maybe you should pull that up and take a listen to that. However, when Clive Davis, and this is an important thing that I think most people just either don't know or forget about, or it hasn't really been talked about much. When he was taken under his wing, meaning under Davis's wing, and given his quote record deal, he lost money. So you would think that any other business person as Clive Davis, very important, right? Super powerful, would have said, well, you lost me some money, so get out of here, kid. But no, that didn't happen. He gave him another chance. and he gave him another chance because they had developed a much a deeper relationship. And perhaps it is my opinion because Clive Davis is a man with no soul. He has just like a dark, there's a big empty void. He had already been himself charged with crimes and fired from CBS, from the record label back in the 1970s for connections with similar behavior that Sean Combs is being charged with. Similar, not with the arms situation, but similar. And he managed to get his position back and get the charges reduced. And the way that I believe he did that was by using information he had obtained, meaning blackmail material. That is how I believe Clive Davis crawled back into his space. So when Combs lost money for Clive Davis after they had initiated a special, let's say, friendship, I think that it was enough for him to perhaps be somewhat concerned that this young guy from the streets, right, quote, would probably turn on him and start talking, because there has been talk on the street for a long time, talk that nobody really wanted to listen to. And perhaps that may be one of the motivating reasons that Clive Davis took Sean Combs back in and then kind of recouped the money. And when you hear, by the way, people talk about Combs and his relationship with Clive Davis, what they say is that Sean Combs was taught, not that he learned, but that he was taught by those, quote, before him and above him, meaning that this is an intentional passing of the torch, so that we have, you can go back and study this yourself. Well, who were the important political figures that perhaps were connected with Clive Davis? And I can tell you right now that it crosses right into and above whoever was sitting in the White House. Did you just hear what I said? I'm going to repeat it. It crosses into and above whoever was sitting in the White House. And that means there's a very powerful group that pull the strings over a three-letter agency that does the bidding for those people. Did you hear me? That does the bidding for those people. So that agency does not exist for the reasons that you and I believe it exists. It exists to do the bidding of the people who are the puppeteers. And that is why Clive Davis has never been touched, nor will he be. I mean, he's now 92. And to go back, Puffy has been an informer. Nobody's coming to his aid. You know, people are leaving the country. Very powerful people who have been put into positions of power. I don't need to name them. I think you know who's who's been talked about, who hasn't been talked about, who's been photographed with, who has gone to all the white parties. I don't need to tell you the endless list of celebrities, not just in the music industry, but in Hollywood. So I think that if Diddy has a chance, it is from Joe Biden to give him a pardon even before he is sentenced, even before he is found guilty, because I do not think that we are going to see a trial. I think something is going to happen. Either he will be Epsteined, and that is something that is just too blatant, too obvious. But you never know, because Jean-Luc Brunel met the same fate, and that was very obvious. so that the only other way out, I don't agree. Let's say Suge Knight is great. I've listened to his thing, and I think you should listen to what Suge Knight is saying. And but I think that Suge Knight basically saying that, they can just give him bail. All they have to do is put him in a hotel on a high floor. His kids can come to see him, his mother can come to see him, and they can put, police guards. I don't think that that's a realistic thing. Number one, there's too much on the line now. There's just so much publicity. This is being examined from every direction. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. But he, again, could get out courtesy of Joe Biden. All right, guys, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, will Joe Biden pardon Sean Combs? Have a good day. Give this a like. Bye.